There was definitely an overarching theme involved when I was writing the book. I call myself a hybrid. I'm a little bit of an Eastern woman and a little bit of a Western woman, and I really wanted that reflected in the book. So what I wanted to capture was Iranian art and artistry, which adds a different flavor to the written word. And I also wanted to make sure that in the story of my memoir, every other chapter I have a travel story, and oftentimes those travel stories are written in poetry form. And that again is a reflection of my more Middle Eastern tradition. Us Iranians love our poets. Rumi and Hafez are revered by us, and oftentimes when we're speaking to one another, we pepper parts of their poetry in our conversation. So I wanted to take that kind of oral tradition and bring it into my story as well. And I think by having all those components in the book, it made it for more, I think it's more special, and it connects the reader with me and my story better. I certainly think that both the Eastern culture and the Western culture play a big role in my life. I think I've had the privilege of picking the things that I feel work best for me from both cultures. I love the way us as a family relate to one another. And it's, I tend to think of it as a very Eastern way of doing things. We're very close-knit. I talk to my mom all the time, my siblings all the time. I think that that's one area that I'd love to keep. It's more like an old world kind of way of relating to one another. But then I love the opportunities that has been presented to me by the Western culture. Most importantly, I think the role of the woman has changed significantly because we have moved here. I think that I can speak my mind. I'm much more independent, and the opportunities of higher education and work are much more available to me here. But more than anything, I think that at this point in my life, I really don't look at things whether they're Eastern or Western. It's more about if they fall within the value system that I'd like to have in terms of me and my growth in the future. And if it falls in that pattern, I'm ready to embrace any kind of culture. My paternal grandmother was a true role model for me. And I think what was so remarkable about her was that she had the courage to be herself at a time when women were deemed to be very passive, humble, almost invisible. And I think by being who she was and being confident about her own opinions and the way she wanted to live her life, she served as a role model for all the women in the family. That we should be responsible for our happiness in our life. And also my grandmother had a pivotal role in the Jewish community. She always helped out everyone in the neighborhood and wouldn't deny anyone of any kind of help that she could give. So those are the things that I would like to pass on to the generations after me and to my kids, that as women we're very powerful and we could be the positive change in other people's lives. I've noticed, because I had such a sudden departure out of my homeland where I really didn't have a chance to say goodbye to my relatives, and quite honestly I haven't seen them for more than 30 years. Some of the people who I held so closely to my heart, like my grandparents, my aunts, and my cousins, and my uncles, I do think I have a hard time saying goodbye to people. I think even going on a trip, which I often do, the last day of the trip becomes very difficult for me. Endings are a little bit hard, and I realize that. But at the same time, I've seen how I overcompensate for that. I think one of the things that happened was, since I came out of Iran with only one luggage, I never got to bring my photo albums. I probably have only 4 pictures of myself. And what do? As a parent, I'm constantly taking pictures of my kids. I'm constantly archiving things. I even have my notes from 6th grade where I was writing notes in the middle of class, and I keep it. And I think those are the things that somehow I feel like it gives me a sense that I've had some sort of continuity in a place. But I think more than anything else, I just don't take things for granted anymore. And I know that a sense of home and a belonging is much more abstract than having tangible things in my life. So I try to hold on to those feelings and connections much more than just things and stuff. I believe that the younger generation or the newer generation isn't facing the same challenges as I did or the people before me did. I look at my own two sons. I really feel that they don't have a feeling for what it means to be displaced. And their traumas in terms of moving from one homeland to another hasn't been in their lives at all. What I do see is that they are wholeheartedly and enthusiastically embracing the American culture, but with their own flavor. I do think that what they want to do is participate in the larger community in a way that's not just the Jewish community, but the world at large. And they have a very interesting frame of reference. I think it's much more global because they know that their parents are from another place. And I see them wanting to participate on a political level, community level, philanthropic level. They have become what I would call world citizens. I do think that the lengthy separation I had from my parents really affected me in many ways. One of the good things about it, although, you know, you would think at a formative age, the age of 11, until 16 and a half, I was raised by my sister, older sister, and therefore not having my parents around would have affected me in a very negative way. But when I look at it, I became much more self-sufficient and determined because of those things, because of my experience. I have to say, one thing it's done for me as a parent is that I've wanted so much to be in every moment of my kids' lives. The way they have gone from one transition point to the next, I wanted to be a part of their life and to enjoy all those moments, so I don't take that for granted. Of course, I do have a little thing about separation. It gives me thought for, you know, to reflect on my life a little bit more, but also it fully engages me in really being present with them, which is one of the gifts of a difficult and challenging life. You can always turn that around and make it work for yourself in a positive way. It is true that the reason why I wrote this book was first and foremost for my two sons, because I really wanted them to get a sense of what their family went through, with their parents and their grandparents, and to also be proud of their roots and their heritage. But there is a bigger message in the book, and that is that we are all on a journey, and our journey will have many, many transitions. And you don't have to be going from one part of the world to the other. Every life will bring many challenges, and it could be from getting a new job, getting married, having kids, becoming an empty nester, or getting divorced. All those changes are those transition points in our life that we feel very disoriented. So it's the same universal journey for all of us. But another thing that I really feel comes through when you read the book is that we all have much more in common that we really assume. I've traveled to so many different countries and I've seen so many different ways of life, but the root is that we all strive to have meaning and love in our life, and that is the same for everyone.